Welcome to A Mason's Work, the podcast where we review Masonic symbols and illustrate how they can be used to solve problems in everyday life. With your host, Brian Mattox, a proud member of the Craftsman Online Media Network.
We start talking about the Senior Warden at a systemic level and what that really means from an analysis perspective. We're talking about understanding kind of when, looking across the sort of spectrum of stuff that happens in life, where are the boundaries? Where are the markers for when one function is complete and the other can begin? And just as importantly, though it's out of scope for the role itself to talk about the content thereof, to talk about what needs to be communicated from one phase change or one set of work to the next. A big part of this is, if you think about it, it's kind of like a data flow, right? So from one piece of work to the other, what information needs to be passed from one crew to the next, even if it's the same crew. How are we going to do this? What does it look like? How does that work proceed from essentially from these different phases? That's all the work of the Senior Warden at a systemic level. It includes things that you might expect to see like socially, like award ceremonies and completion events of all sorts, right? Commencements, ceremonies that essentially indicate the stopping of one, bit of work or function and the advancement to another. If you don't dial that stuff into whatever it is the work you're planning, that level of essentially commencement or conclusion and celebration, and then how do you pass information from one thing to the next, you're never going to be able to essentially create these meaningful demarcations that allow you to have each function or each bit of work that you're trying to pursue or each relationship you're trying to essentially learn from to essentially move to its place where you can wrap it up and come to evaluate it for its efficacy and, did it do what it was supposed to do, that kind of thing. You can see how these systems play largely in looking at, like, say, the education system, where you go through this phase where you're getting different levels and types of education. As you go through that, you have this commencement or this conclusion process, this graduation ceremony. And with that, they give you a piece of data that you will need to go out into the world. You'll take your diploma and people will recognize that that means that you have completed this phase to satisfaction, whatever that might be. The work was sufficient. And then you can use that diploma essentially by entry into the next phase, whatever that might be. You pass that data along to the next step in the chain. This is a natural occurrence through all of sort of life. There are these lines of demarcation, these concluding points where we get to acknowledge and celebrate and pass information from one phase to the next. The coming of age rituals that you might expect, the initiation rituals that you might expect, are all designed to both open and close the work. So we talked about the Worshipful Master as the opener of the work, the person who creates spaces. The Senior Warden is the closure of the work, the person who acknowledges contribution, recognizes that things have achieved, their utility or no longer are it's capable to achieve said utility, and then that conclusion occurs. As you're designing systems in your life or in your lodge or in your community, this is a big part of the process. It's one of the reasons why the Senior Warden is such a vital part of the lodge experience. It's not strictly speaking a line of succession. It is, that function is responsible for closure, which is just as important as the opening and just as important as the Junior Warden, which we'll get to next week, in terms of their role and responsibility.
The views represented in this podcast are those of the speaker alone and are not representative of any grand or subordinate lodge.
Hi, Brian here. I wanted to thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any suggestions or guidance for further episodes you'd like to see or hear, whatever the case may be, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at masonswork.com, and we will try and incorporate your suggestions into a future recording. Thanks.
Freemasonry teaches us that the true work is within, a lifelong journey of reflection, discipline, and discovery. At A Mason's Work, we help Masons bring out their best selves through meaningful self-inquiry and symbolic practice. From personal reflection to lodge engagement, we offer tools that turn symbols into action. Visit us at amasonswork.com. The work is within. The time is now.